For a more in-depth look at tomorrow's election, we're joined tonight by political analyst and publisher of the Quorum Report, Harvey Kronberg. Harvey, it's good to have you with us here in studio.
We finally got to this day, didn't we?
Finally, I'm so worn down that I can barely get my sentences out. Harvey, tomorrow's the big day. We've been working toward this for months. What should we expect to see in the biggest race that we have tomorrow, the Senate race? And how early do you think we'll actually be able to tell what's going on?
Well, on the Democratic side, I think we're going to be able to tell fairly early because Houston and Dallas and the urban areas are the critical ones, and those three should have their numbers in actually pretty soon. Republicans will be a little later because West Texas is really pretty important. I think the further west you go, the better it is for Paxton. So we'll just see.
Okay, and on the Republican side of the race, this has been described as a battle between your traditional business-friendly Republicans and the Trump wing of the party. For Senator Cornyn, if he loses the primary to either of these candidates, what does that say?
It says it's a new Republican Party, at least for the next couple of cycles. Now, the MAGA faction and the MAGA base is splitting up and fractionalizing themselves right now, but for the moment it feels like they're at the pinnacle. The business community is struggling, even in our own Texas legislature, to be heard over the culture wars and the populism of the MAGA movement.
All right, and polling has been difficult to keep up with. It's been all over the map in this race, especially on the Democratic side. One poll says Congresswoman Crockett is up big. The next one says State Representative Tallarico's up big. The latest poll that we saw was the Emerson poll. I think it came out today, but was conducted last week over 2 days, puts Tallarico up by 5 points. What do you make of that survey, and why has it been so hard to keep track of this race for pollsters?
That one feels pretty legitimate. The real reason we're having so much difficulty is because you interview a lot of people, and then you drop a screen on. The difficulty is that we have so many first-time Democratic primary voters, and we have so many typically Republican primary voters coming over to vote on the Democratic side, presumably for Tallarico. I think that skews everything. It's really difficult to do a sampling when you're depending on measuring new voters.
You said that sort of helps Tallarico, but wouldn't it help Crockett a little bit as well? I mean, they both are kind of going after these new voters, right?
Right, but well, I think she's more inspiring to young voters per se, but ultimately he's got an organization and an infrastructure. I'm not even sure we know with any surety who her campaign manager is. So it's kind of a hip pocket kind of operation from Jasmine. But ultimately, she's got a lot of enthusiasm by her, so you can't write her off.
You certainly can't, and I think it will be a tight one. We'll see which way it goes. Yep. Now, President Trump on Friday made some late endorsements for Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller and then also for Controller candidate Don Huffines. Those endorsements go against Governor Abbott's endorsement. So what do these splits say, and what can they tell us about who really runs the Republican Party in Texas?
I do wonder about that. Don Huffines, it's worth noting that Don Huffines' campaign manager is also Dan Patrick's campaign manager or campaign consultant. So you're wondering if Patrick whispered into Trump's ear on those endorsements. Sid Miller's kind of earned it. I mean, he's been a rhino hunter since the beginning. He's got a huge social media following, and he's just totally in sync with. But what it ultimately says, it was a slap in the face to Greg Abbott.
All right, and we've got less than a minute left, Harvey, but you are our political whiz. Are there any races you see that could have possible surprises?
Yes, the governor's race. Believe it or not, there are 8 candidates in that race. If in fact this is a rebuff of Kelly Hancock and Nate Sheets and the Abbott candidates, it's entirely possible we're not going to see Abbott get beat in the primary, but we could see him in the low 50s. And if he shows in the low 50s, that is a pretty remarkable statement, and it's going to, I don't know, roil the political waters all over the state.
Interesting indeed. We'll find out tomorrow. Harvey, thanks so much for joining the program.
Always a pleasure.